Have you ever noticed how much of your life is quietly shaped by what other people think of you? How many choices you make, not because they feel right to you, but because they might look right to someone else? And have you ever wondered what would happen if, just for a moment, you stopped trying to earn approval? Most people spend their lives chasing something invisible, a nod of agreement, a compliment, a sense that others believe they are doing well. But what many people never realize is that approval can become one of the quietest prisons a person can live in. This is the story of a man named Nathan Caldwell. Nathan grew up in a family that valued achievement above almost everything else. His father believed strongly in hard work and reputation. His mother believed that a person's worth was reflected in how others spoke about them. From the time Nathan was a child, praise was never given lightly in his home. If he brought home good grades, his father would nod and say, "That's expected." If he won a school award, his mother would say, "Make sure you keep this up." Nothing was ever quite enough to celebrate for long, and so, without realizing it, Nathan began building his identity around one quiet goal. He wanted people to approve of him. In school, he worked harder than almost everyone else. He stayed late to perfect assignments. He volunteered for leadership roles. He helped classmates with projects, even when he had little time for himself. Teachers liked him. Friends respected him. Adults often said things like, "Nathan is going to go far." And every time someone said something like that, Nathan felt a small wave of relief. For a moment, he felt safe. For a moment, he felt like he was enough. But that feeling never lasted long. Because approval is a strange kind of reward. It disappears quickly, and then asks you to earn it again. When Nathan entered the working world, this pattern followed him. He joined a large consulting firm in the city. The work was demanding, long hours, constant deadlines, endless meetings about performance, productivity, and results. At first, Nathan thrived in that environment. He arrived early and stayed later than most people. He volunteered for difficult projects. He accepted tasks others avoided. Managers began to notice. They praised his discipline. They trusted him with responsibilities that others had to wait years to receive. From the outside, Nathan's life looked impressive. His salary grew each year. He moved into a modern apartment downtown. He bought a new car. His parents proudly told relatives about his success. And on social media, his life appeared to be moving exactly in the direction many people admired. But something inside Nathan slowly began to change. At night, when the city lights reflected off the glass buildings outside his apartment window, he sometimes sat quietly on the couch and felt an uncomfortable question forming in his mind. Why does this still feel empty? He told himself it was normal. Maybe he simply needed the next promotion, maybe the next raise, maybe the next achievement. So he pushed harder, but the harder he pushed, the more tired he became. Because approval is a moving target. Once you receive it, people begin expecting more. A bigger project, a better result, a higher standard. And slowly, Nathan realized something unsettling. He wasn't living his life anymore. He was performing it. Every decision passed through one silent filter. What will people think? Will they respect this choice? Will they admire it? Will they see me as successful? Without realizing it, Nathan had built a life designed almost entirely around other people's expectations. Then, one evening, something small happened that changed everything. Nathan had stayed late at the office finishing a report. It was close to midnight when he finally left the building. The streets were unusually quiet. Instead of taking a taxi, he decided to walk for a while. A few blocks away from the office, he passed a small cafe that was still open. Inside sat an older man reading a book by the window. The cafe was nearly empty. Nathan stepped inside and ordered a cup of coffee. He sat at a table near the window, scrolling through emails on his phone. The older man looked up from his book and smiled politely. After a moment, he said something simple. "Working late?" Nathan nodded. "Something like that." The man closed his book gently. "I used to do the same thing," he said, "every night, for years." Nathan smiled politely but kept looking at his phone. Then the man asked a question that caught Nathan off guard. "Do you enjoy it?" Nathan paused. The question felt strangely difficult. He thought about answering quickly, something polite, something confident, but for some reason, the words didn't come easily. Finally, he said, quietly, "I'm not sure anymore." The older man nodded slowly, as if he understood something deeper than Nathan had said. "I spent 30 years trying to impress people," the man said. "My bosses, my colleagues, my neighbors, even people I barely knew." Nathan looked up from his phone. "And did it work?" he asked. The man smiled faintly. "Oh yes," he said. "People were very impressed." Nathan waited for him to continue. The man took a slow sip of coffee. "But one day," he said, "I realized something strange. The moment you stop chasing approval, you discover a kind of freedom most people never experience." Nathan leaned back slightly in his chair. "What kind of freedom?" he asked. The man looked out the cafe window at the empty street. "The freedom to choose your life," he said. "Not the one that looks impressive, but the one that actually feels right." Nathan didn't say anything. The man continued. "Approval is addictive," he said. "It feels good when someone praises you, but when you start depending on it, you give other people control over your direction." Nathan felt something shift inside him. The man wasn't criticizing ambition. He wasn't saying success was bad. He was pointing to something subtler, something Nathan had never questioned before. The man smiled again. "You know what surprised me the most?" he said. Nathan shook his head. "When I stopped trying to impress people," the man said softly, "most of them stopped paying attention." Nathan blinked in surprise, and that's when I realized something important. Most people are too busy worrying about their own lives to judge yours as much as you think. They sat in silence for a moment. Then the man added one final thought. "If you build your life around approval, you will always feel slightly trapped. But if you build your life around truth, even small choices begin to feel peaceful." Nathan left the cafe later that night with those words echoing in his mind. At first, nothing dramatic changed. He still went to work. He still completed projects. He still showed up to meetings. But slowly his thinking began to shift. He began asking himself a different question. Not, "Will people approve of this?" but, "Does this actually matter to me?" Sometimes the answer surprised him. Some things he had been chasing for years suddenly felt unimportant. Some choices he had avoided suddenly felt possible. Over time, Nathan began making small changes. He stopped volunteering for every project. He started protecting time for things he enjoyed. He spent more evenings reading, walking, and thinking quietly. At first, he worried people would notice. He worried colleagues might think he had lost his drive. But something unexpected happened. Almost nothing changed. The office kept running, projects continued, People were too busy with their own concerns to analyze Nathan's life as closely as he had imagined. And gradually, a strange feeling began to appear. Peace. The more Nathan stopped chasing approval, the lighter his life felt. He still worked hard. He still cared about doing things well. But he no longer depended on praise to feel valuable. And that subtle difference changed everything. Because when approval stops being the goal, your energy returns to the things that truly matter. Your choices become clearer. Your time feels more meaningful. And your life slowly begins to feel like your own again. Many people spend decades chasing approval without realizing the cost. They pursue careers they don't enjoy. They buy things they don't need. They live according to expectations they never consciously chose. And often the moment of clarity arrives much later than they expected. But the truth is simpler than most people imagine. You don't need everyone to understand your choices. You don't need constant praise to prove your worth. And you don't need approval to live a meaningful life. Sometimes the greatest freedom a person can discover is the quiet freedom of not needing to impress anyone at all. If this story resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on the choices you make each day. Are they truly yours, or are they quietly shaped by the opinions of others? If you enjoyed this story, please take a moment to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel for more life lessons and inspiring stories. Thank you for listening, and I wish you clarity, courage, and peace on your journey through life.